is good. You know, it's all purposeful. But how does your company survive? Where's the model?
We still have the market research division. It's about half the company, so half of it's the publishing arm, and we're the world's largest publisher of stem cell industry news. And so we have the market research arm that's still very active. We do due diligence on larger transactions in the industry. We sell market research. We also, after growing our site reach, and not just the site, but our email subscribers, our social media channels, so rapidly, we consult for other companies on the growth of their life science brands. So it's been a pleasure to be able to give away so much content for free, because it creates a platform and an audience where we can serve. And as a result, we have the authority in the industry to have a lot of other roles.
And so the is spreading the love, if you want to put it that way, and having a social consciousness to your mission actually improves your business model. It doesn't detract from it.
Absolutely.
Because you have that connection.
Correct.
You're more well respected in the industry.
And exactly. And the only thing that we track is the industry at large. What is happening? What are the trends? What are the metrics? What does the data say? Because our origins were as a market research firm, and I'm trained formally in bioinformatics, which is the study of billions of base pairs of DNA. So if you can manage billions of base pairs and analyze that information, you can follow, 808 MSc trials on clinicaltrials.gov.
Absolutely.
You can analyze, small data sets and trends. So because it's quantifiable, unbiased data that we share, I think it's a really valuable resource for both industry and patients.
So how would you see your data? Let me preface that by saying the Regenerative Outcomes Foundation is a collaborator and partner with 3 other nonprofits in the establishment of a national centralized cell therapy registry.
Right.
That's gaining a lot of momentum, and we want to create the model from all sectors and all stakeholders being represented. We want to create the model for a registry. How would you see bioinformants expertise, whether it's directly or indirectly granted, how would you see that kind of data helping in shared decision making, something that a registry is key in providing access to?
I think accessibility is a huge part of accessible patient care. Patient registries are interesting because it's not, there's not a group to control against. It's not a clinical trial format, but it is data, and it is large quantities of data, and it is evidence-based data. So I think there's a lot of value there. I think it also lets you have collective understanding of not just efficacy, but safety. I think efficacy is really important, but I'm even more concerned with safety.
I think that's where we're at too.
Right. I think if you were to ask me, would I be willing to risk doing a procedure not being sure of the efficacy if I knew it was relatively safe? Most of the time I would say yes.
Right. If the other risk factors, such even financial risks or other risk factors, whatever they be, if those were also properly balanced.
Personal decisions.
Right.
Whenever you invest funds into whether it's purchase of a car or a house or a procedure or a shirt or shoe, that's really a personal decision.
Kate, do you believe that we have enough data to ethically acquire an informed choice from patients right now? Do we have enough data where the needle is put?
That's a big question, because I think the truthful answer is we're on the cusp. I don't think we do it for every indication. I think we're early stage in certain indications. I think in some of the orthopedic applications and pain management, we're collecting larger quantities of data.
We're further along in that. But when you have some of the autoimmune stuff going on, some of the systemic treatments, it's perplexing because it really doesn't matter who you ask. It's a sort of a universal question, and almost the universal answer is no. We really don't. And I think that, to be fair, that both those who are pro and those who are against different levels of care in this whole industry, the one thing that everyone's sort of right on is we don't have enough data. And now some think that our standard of data is grossly inadequate, and some, like you and me, both feel like we are on the cusp and we're in a much more positive position. And but no one's questioning whether we have enough information for patients to make proper informed choices. And by proper, who knows what that means too. But it boils down to where the responsibilities in patient access are when you're talking about large-scale policy. So when you're looking at large-scale data, mm-hmm. how would you apply it now toward millions of people? Because I came as an individual patient, and you came as an individual patient. We both had these wonderful outcomes, mm-hmm. and we know that hundreds of thousands of patients are having similar outcomes mm-hmm. based on indication. But let's extrapolate that to millions of people. Mm-hmm. Where's your bar?
When is enough
for
data?
Well, for a patient, now these are all really abstract, so this isn't like a sure thing. But you're a data expert, mm-hmm. so you not only have an idea of where the bar might be to reliable data. You have enough data that you know how difficult it is to get into the hands of people. Mm-hmm. You're a patient. Mm-hmm. You know what you would have liked to have known more about with your procedure. And those, I think, are all valid because they all get down to the personal decision. But let's take the 30,000-foot view. Mm-hmm. Because now we're both sort of responsible for that higher level. Mm-hmm. Just because of notoriety and success and all of that, we have that. What do you think about what I'm saying? Are you getting it?
Yeah. I think one of the tricky things in the cell therapy industry is that in many cases we can see efficacy and we can monitor it and we have some data to prove it, but we don't understand mechanisms. So we like to say it's a paracrine effect.
Right.
and that's sort of a catch-all for
right.
It influences its local microenvironment.
Yeah, right.
But that's not a very clear answer of how it's exerting its effects. So I think what makes it such a complex question is that even defining efficacy gets complex because you could say it as a simple definition of we see therapeutic benefit or we see improvement, or we see some sort of measurable improvement, whether it's on an MRI or a scan or whatever your metric is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's the other level of understanding why it works. And that's an additional layer in there when you're talking about how much data and what types of data and accessibility to data and how many patients, if you should have 1,000, 10,000, 1 million.
Oh, exactly. And so one thing that I tell clinics that ask me for help, they might want information about regulatory policy or whatever it is. And we try to help as much as we can. But it always gets down to the mechanism of action and how comfortable everybody is, including regulators, mm-hmm. with understanding that. And how far down do you want to drill? Mm-hmm. And drilling down in basic science is the slow part of the process. So when we look at speed and access, do you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone is correct when they say the science is slow, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
But yet everybody wants access and deserves it. So here is the question. Here's a $100,000 question. Do you have a bar? Do you have a radar yourself about where you or a family member would fit into that? How far along the data pathway would you guide a loved one to consider when they're considering a treatment? Let's say it's a medium risk treatment. Mm-hmm. What would you how would you counsel them? And then I'll share how I would counsel. I mean, we'll work this one together.
It's really complex, so I'll acknowledge that first before I dive in with an answer. My sister was born with a severe congenital heart condition, and she had surgery at birth, 6 months and 4 years. And she had her adult open heart surgery in 2016 as well at the Mayo Clinic. And it's interesting because the first trial at the Mayo Clinic that's involving stem cells to treat a congenital heart condition is launching now. And it's not her condition. She has tricuspid atresia. It's a different condition. But the benefit of using stem cells in conjunction with surgery is they tend to be anti